Hello, Tyler.
Hey Annie, good to see you.
So today I would like to discuss a topic I'm very interested.
Yeah, let's hear your new topic.
I want to know about astrology in America.
In America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, honestly, my first exposure to astrology is kind of funny. I had seen the horoscopes. I didn't know much about them, what they were, or why people follow them. My actual first exposure to astrology besides that was in a game, The Sims, where you take charge of people living inside a house, build a house for them, do the chores for them,
Mm-hmm.
and basically live a life of that character and like send them to work and to their career and everything. But they have astrology, astrological sign. I didn't really know what it meant, but I saw the symbols, I saw the names. I didn't think it was relevant at the time, but I know that it has become more popular
Yes, it's
these
very
days.
popular. I think when you see the dating apps, they all ask you what your sign is, and in Snapchat, if your signs match, they'll give you like, oh, what the other person's signs are like.
Okay. I haven't had a lot of exposure,
Mm-hmm.
until last year or so. The other time was somebody in the army just introduced himself as a Leo and just kept bringing it up. I'm a Leo, I'm a Leo. And I didn't really understand what it meant, but now I kind of get it.
Yes. In China, Western astrology is getting more and more popular as well. So they'll say, oh, you're a typical Scorpio or you're a typical Virgo, things like that.
Okay.
China has a long history of its own animal signs or bazi, all kinds of things, but the Western ones are getting very popular nowadays. When I come here, I find out just people who don't believe in astrology. It's not those people just are very scientific. So at first I thought the scientific people would say, oh, this is not scientific at all. There's just based on superstition. So they'll dismiss it that way. But coming here, I realize a lot of people dismiss this because of their religious beliefs. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So that is true that there are some belief systems against astrology. And in particular, in Christianity, they would think that they could make a strong argument that the stars are created, they are a creation, they're not something that we follow, they're not something that we worship. We worship the creator, the creator. And it's very hand in hand with the ideas or apprehension against naturalism, right? People wouldn't worship nature or they wouldn't treat it with the same kind of reverence as a church.
Mm-hmm.
For me, a forest is a church. I go there and I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's other people might think that inanimate objects, they don't have spirits, they don't have life, they don't have energy. Some people might even think that animals, they might not have a spirit or like really substantial consciousness. And all of these are ingrained in people's belief systems, including an apprehension against things like astrology or alternative belief systems.
Yes. When I talk about aura and energy with a bunch of my friends here in Texas, they say, oh, we don't believe in that. We don't talk about energy. I didn't know that it's religious reasons. So I'm just wondering, because your parents, your family are very religious, if someone brings up science and astrology topics, how would they respond?
I think if it's just about science, I'm personally very comfortable with that, and I don't think that signs themselves would be too offensive. But if you go beyond that, if you go to like horoscopes and like predictions, forecasts, there will be more of a hard line.
Mm-hmm. But you see, on the one hand, there are religious people who are against it, but on the other hand, you see the trend is getting so popular. As I mentioned, in popular apps like Snapchat or dating apps, you can see the other person's sign and you can use that as a filter. It's almost like every app.
Really? Okay. So I do see that there's a mainstream acceptance of the marketing of non-traditional ideas. I think that's been an ongoing thing, and that astrology has joined the bandwagon on that.
In some companies, like in China or in Japan, they use blood types or they use signs. How about here? Is it considered discrimination, or do they have anything like that?
That would definitely be discrimination, because if it got involved in the workspace, it would be you must provide equal opportunities to all astrological signs. That's how it would get treated here, because we have these equal opportunity mandates, and those get enforced for like race, for gender identity, for veteran status. All these things, they enforce equal opportunity. So if it did get integrated into the business system here, it would be it would be for equal opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So what do you want to talk about in terms of astrology? What things that you find interesting?
There's two things that I find interesting. One is the accuracy of how it describes me as a person. I find that fascinating. I have an appetite for tediousness, for repetition, for details. I'm a Virgo. I have innate meticulousness, and there's no way to describe it. And when I would see my astrological sign and I read it, I just think, wow, who wrote this about me? It's just describing me.
Yes.
Things that are just really natural that I never realized even. I didn't realize that I have a harsh, critical mindset. I just feel like I'm choosing the right word to describe something, but in reality, my thinking style is a little bit harsh, actually.
I think sometimes when people are born, they're born into some type of frequency. You have the same frequency. You are in the same space, then you share some similarities. Like you were born American, you share a lot of characteristics of American. I was born Chinese, so share a lot of characteristics of Chinese. I'm just thinking, if that is true, then the time you were born maybe share some similarities as well.
Yes, I'm absolutely interested in knowing what other people's astrological sign is. It used to be I always ask them, where are you from? That'd be my first question, because that gives you some of their background, some of their personality even you can get from where they're from. But also, I'm curious about the astrological sign now. I want to, the second part I find fascinating is the interpersonal dynamics, right? Because you're not just thinking, okay, that characteristic of that person is a little bit annoying, or I don't like the way they handle things, or I'm not that way. It helps me expand my perspective. Oh, that's who they are, that's their astrological sign, and there's a pattern, right? I just have to adapt to it. I have to understand how I relate to this person, and it provides a framework for doing that. Instead of just figuring out everything on my own and coming up with these ideas from scratch, I have this framework of how another person thinks, feels, behaves, and it's eye-opening for me.
Yes.
I like it. The other thing is that I might steer the conversation in different directions depending on what sign the other person is, right? Oh, this person's a Leo or a Scorpio or a Sagittarius friend. I'm going to choose what I want to talk with them about.
Do you find it effective?
Yes, I do. I do. And I know it's kind of labeling people and giving a stereotype, but just at that level, interpersonal dynamics,
as I said before, if you're born as American, you have some characteristics of American. Say if you're born in the 1950s, you have the imprint of that period. So that makes the whole astrology make sense to me. I don't see it as a stereotype, but I see it like proximity.
That makes sense. The word I like is the framework. it's a framework for how people behave and their personality and how to have a good interpersonal dynamic with them.
Yes, I find my Chinese Virgos have a lot of commonality with my American Virgo friends.
Okay, that's interesting.
Another aspect I find is fascinating is that, say, if I am a Scorpio, I attract a lot of Scorpio friends. For example, when I was in Shanghai, we used to have like a Scorpio girls parties. My girlfriends came from all over the world. One, she's Korean American. Another one is a white American, a New Yorker. Another girl is from Taiwan. So we seem to get along very well just because we have the same sign.
Retrospectively, I can sense the same thing. People I didn't get along with, really clashed with. People I really clashed with, same astrological sign. People I have gotten along with the best, same astrological sign. It is amazing.
So I think astrology signs are very useful for interpersonal relationships, and oftentimes you find it true, but you know, a lot of people also use astrology to forecast. There's like people use astrology to forecast a stock market, things like that. What do you think about that?
Yes, I have heard of that as well. I'm not sure that it's common, but I find it intriguing and definitely worth looking at. For me, growing up religious, not having exposure to it from popular culture, not understanding what it was until later in life, I've found a lot of application for it later in life as I learn more about it.
You have a good point that astrology and science, horoscope, the whole thing becomes a pop culture. Remember, at the end of the newspaper, you know,
Yes.
always a section about a horoscope. So it's very accepted as a pop culture. What is the other thing called just the personality?
Briggs-Meyer personality types. That is much more widespread and sounds more scientific because you sit down, you answer questions, and it's not based off of what seems like arbitrary details. What time were you born? Where at? What time? What day? That one has much less apprehension towards acceptance because you're sitting there, you're answering the questions, and the results make much more sense because you filled out the information and it's much more direct.
So do people use them in a job market to filter applicants?
I don't think that would be considered legal, but I do remember taking some tests like towards working behavior, right? Like, do you feel tired in the middle of the day? Things like that. Do you need to take a nap around lunchtime?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, believe it or not, I actually had more exposure to the Chinese zodiac than I did to astrology. At Chinese restaurants, they would always have the placemats under your plate. And while you're waiting for your food to come, you would have that Chinese zodiac on the placemat, and you would have your years. And I actually knew my zodiac sign way before I knew my astrological sign. I never knew my astrological sign until I was 40.
So how do you like the Chinese zodiacs?
To me, I find it interesting about the compatibility between people. I find that interesting.
I see. So you know what sign are you?
Yeah, I'm a pig. I'm a pig in Chinese zodiac.
Yes. In China, we have this 12 years of animals and times the 5 elements. So if you're a pig, you can be a wood pig, you can be a water pig, you can be a metal pig. You know, you need to find this different 5 elements might be slightly different. So 12 times 5 is 60 years. So every 60 years, it is a cycle.
And then when I was growing up, I just thought, there's no way that everybody born this year is similar. So I just thought this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, before I was thinking of the same thing, but then you think, you can't say all the people in China are the same, but they share some similarity. All the people who were born in the land America are the same. No, they're not the same, but they share some similarity. So it's possible for one thing, like you look from the history, people who are born in the same year, they do share some similarities with you because they have that hallmark of your era.
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
Never thought of it that way. This is another fun topic. Thanks again for having me. It's very light and interesting to talk about and to hear your perspective and your stories.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.